So, in regards to David Lee Roth, I think I remember you saying that you haven't actually interviewed him before. Now, if you were given the opportunity to interview him, what are kind of the things that you would want to ask him? I mean, I know we got Ted Templeman's book and all that stuff, and there's a lot of information in there. But what are some of the things that you would just really want to dive deep with knowing about Roth or Eddie or anyone in the band? Or, as we know, sometimes with these interviews, they tell you can't ask this, you can't ask that, and I know that you're against that sort of thing. So would you pass on an interview with Roth if those were the stipulations? So thanks, Eddie. I'll take your answer off the air.
Thank you very much, Eve. Well, you're correct. I've never interviewed David Lee Roth, never even met him. Came real close to it when I was doing TV at VH1 Classic prior to that metal show, and he had come into the studio one day. But there were two hosts at the time, me and a woman named Lynn Hoffman, and I think Lynn did the interview. She was assigned that one that day. So I was not there that day, and I didn't do that interview. That was the closest I ever came to interviewing Dave. And Dave has had some people in his band over the years that are good friends, but it just never synced up. It just never happened. There was even some talk. There was talk like as recently as a year ago when Roth started to get back into playing again, announced those Vegas dates, and then obviously went on to open some shows for Kiss. There was talk around then when Dave was coming back out and reestablishing in the rock world. There was talk then about me possibly doing something with Roth, and that didn't transpire for whatever reason. So, I'd still love to talk to him one day. You're right. Also, I don't, and I shouldn't say don't. I really, really push back on doing interviews with conditions, meaning you can't ask this, you can only ask this. I hate that. It's a disservice and to me and to you, because you listening, the things that they're probably saying they can't talk about are the things you most want to know about, right? So when stuff like that comes up, the times I will adhere to it are a few different times. First of all, I'll adhere to it if it's legal related. In other words, if there's a pending lawsuit of some sort going on and the person legally can't talk about it because they could be sued, that I understand. For instance, Neil Sean was on with me a week or so ago, and I asked him what was going on with the issues with the previous rhythm section with Ross Valerie and Steve Smith. And he said what he could say, but he said, I can't talk more about it right now because there's a legal proceeding going on. I understand that. But the other thing that'll happen is if I'm told that I can't bring something up or talk about something, I will disclose that to you in advance. Because I don't want you guys to think, how the hell could you have that guy on and not ask him about it? So I'll tell you up front. I'll be like, hey, they're not going to let me ask. They won't answer about this. And at least it's disclosed to you. Now, in most cases, I will not do the interview then. I'll pass on it. That's happened. But if the thing I can't talk about and I feel there's a lot of other good stuff that's not off the table, then I will still do the interview and just tell you guys up front, hey, they wouldn't let me talk about it. That just happened recently. There was somebody that was just on with me and I remember what it was. I think it was when it was recent. It was with JY, with James Young from Styx. And somebody said to me, somebody had called in or emailed and said, hey, how did you not ask, or why did you not ask about Dennis DeYoung? Because they don't want any more questions about Dennis DeYoung. That was actually asked by the publicist. And I understand it, and I wasn't even going to ask about it because it's been asked a billion times. There are also some things like people pound on about, and there's not much left to say anymore. Like clearly, in that case, Styx is happy with what they're doing right now in the band, and they're not interested in working with the guy. How many more times can you say that? How many more times can you say it? It's just like with the guys in Skid Row and Sebastian Bach. Even though it still comes up, even though we'll still ask them, clearly they're not interested in reuniting with them right now. It's just not happening. So I can understand from the artist perspective wanting to talk about whatever they're pushing, and it just keep getting pounded on the same topic every time when it's the same answer. So there is a balance. But my favorite one ever was when Zakk Wylde had just got booted out of Ozzy's band, and a publicist called me. Zakk had been booked before he was out of the band, and a publicist called me and said, "You can't ask him about Ozzy." It was the biggest news at the time. I was like, I'm not going to do the interview then. And I called Zakk because I know him well enough to do that. And I said, "Hey, man, nothing personal," but he goes, "What are you talking about?" He didn't even know that condition was put out there. I'm like, how would it have made me look at that time if the biggest news was the day before Zakk was let go from the Ozzy gig and he's on the air with me the next day and I don't ask him about it? It make me look like an asshole. Make me look totally incompetent. So if you get those conditions put on you and you still do the interview, I believe you have to at least tell your audience the truth. Otherwise, the audience has every right to be like, this guy's not doing his job. What I would ask Roth, if I had the chance to talk to him, gosh, a lot of things. I mean, but I'd be real curious about his life, like in recent years, what he did and didn't know about Van Halen, where he didn't, what was going on with him and Eddie, why he made that decision to go out solo and basically take ownership of the music. Did Eddie tell him anything? Did he give it his blessings? I mean, there's a lot about recent stuff I'd want to know about. And then, of course, a lot of the past stuff as well. I mean, it would depend how much time I had with him and how open he was willing to be about his life. But I'd be real curious about a lot about the last 10 years, to be honest with you, because we just have no information. There's just...
They're letting you go through, and I mean, it's just another thing. You're not getting your money back. You were talking about, them making the interest off this money wherever it's sitting in what bank. But that was my thing. It's
so John. Let me just be clear on this. I'm just trying to understand. So you're saying that Ticketmaster did give you a refund, but you purchased tickets through StubHub, and they're not offering a refund on a canceled show?
Correct. They're giving me my money because KISS rescheduled the show already for next year, and StubHub will not give me. And I don't know if this is happening to anybody else, but StubHub said, we'll give you the tickets for KISS because they have rescheduled. So I don't know if it's just they're not giving refunds, period. But for the specific show, KISS, like I said, which was in September, no refund. It's like, well, what the hell, man? I'm not buying any tickets anymore through StubHub. I can tell you that.
Well, so you didn't. So you're talking the KISS tickets you bought through StubHub, the tickets for these other shows you bought through Ticketmaster, and that wasn't an issue. But StubHub's giving you the issue.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know, John.
It's stupid. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, that's not cool at all, and I don't know what the justification for that would be, and I don't know, and I hope you can get that sorted out. Look, we have, and thank you for the call, John. I'm up against a break here, but we have had, and I've heard still from people about issues with ticketing and refunds because of cancellations from the pandemic. If you go back 6-8 months ago, that was probably the number one talking point and call-in point on this show for weeks, for months, about people out money and trying to get refunds for shows that were not happening. And everything they went through, whether it was cancellation, wait until there's a rescheduled date, you got to wait 30 days, credits, options, all these different things that were being offered to people instead of just giving them their money back. There were horrible stories. There were really good stories. Bon Jovi comes to mind as a really good story where literally John said, just refund everybody money back. People need money right now. We'll worry about it when we can go back out on the road. Then you had artists passing the buck. Some people saying it's on the promoter. Some people saying it's on the ticketing company. Some people saying it's on the artist. So it was a mess for a long time, and there's still residual fallout from it, as you just heard from one of our callers, which is why I would remind people, you are now starting